What's going on, friends? Today we're going to be talking about the tank build in Where Winds Meet. Recently, this build just had a bunch of changes and buffs from the developers. We're also kind of in the end game for Season 1 now. We're not going to be getting better than Tier 71 Legendary until Season 2, and we can push our inner ways all the way to Tier 6. If you can get enough pages, you can now go all the way to Tier 6. Same with the Mystic skills. These are now capped out at rank 4, Tier 9, I believe it is the max that we can be. So yeah, we're in the end game for all intents and purposes for the next several weeks. So thought I'd talk about what I'm finding works for me, what the meta is looking like for tanks right now in both PvE and PvP, gear sets, weapons, armor, all of that good stuff. If you're interested in any particular aspect of this build, you'll be able to scrub along in the video or check out the timestamps down below. But yeah, let's talk about tanking now in Where Winds Meet. PvP in Where Winds Meet is sometimes described as ping to win. Assuming two opponents of similar skill and similar gear level, the player with the better connection or the lower ping will have an advantage. And that's where the sponsor of this video comes in, Exit Lag. With Exit Lag active, I can ensure that I'm getting the best connection to the game servers possible. So the Exit Lag program is super easy to use. I've got it running right now. If I just go ahead and take Where Winds Meet off of here so I can show you how to use it. So download it using my link in the description down below. You can get a 3-day free trial. Check out that library of thousands of games. I'm just going to type in Where Winds Meet. Here we go. You set your server. I would just recommend going for automatic. And then from here, we just go to apply routes and it will give us the best connection to the server possible. Because I'm playing from Europe, I'm connected to the Frankfurt server in Germany. Exit Lag also have a server there as well. And you can see I'm getting a ping of just 23 ms. I also use this when I'm playing the Chinese server for Where Winds Meet. It makes a significant difference there. And as I say, they have thousands of games in their library. If you're interested in PvP and Where Winds Meet, or just shoring up your connection for any game that you play, consider checking out the sponsor. Thank you very much, Exit Lag, for sponsoring this video. Once again, link in the description down below. So as it was with my previous guide, link up in the top right, weapon choice for tanks is still pretty much the same. There are only two weapons in the Stone Split family currently, and that is the Stormbreaker Spear and the Thundercry Blade. These have a lot of synergy. They give you good damage reduction. They give you good shielding. You have a lot of tenacity with all your attacks, so you're not going to get staggered while the boss or a player is attacking you. It's just, it's a good build. It is the tank build right now. However, in the future, probably for Season 2, we are going to get two new weapons. Right now, they are called the Snow Parting Blade and the Phalanx Bane Blade. You can see a little bit of footage of them on the screen here. They are technically in the game. For a brief period of time, you could go and play them in one of the boss trials, but now the devs have taken that out, which is a bit of a shame. My plan is in the future, I'm going to be dropping the Stormbreaker Spear to introduce the Snow Parting Blade. It's often referred to as the Tang Dao or the Tang Heng Dao. Some people call it a katana, although I've been told many times we're not calling it that. But either way, very excited for that weapon. I will be dropping the Stormbreaker Spear for that one. Technically, less of a tank weapon, more of a damage weapon, but that's going to be super fun. However, we can't really talk about that now because it's not... You can't equip it in the game. It's there, but we can't use it. So keep an eye out for that video when that goes live. Make sure you hit subscribe so you can stay updated for those videos. But yeah, the TLDR with weapon choice, we're still using Stormbreaker Spear and Thundercry Blade. They are the de facto tank weapons for now. With the recent 1.2 update to the game, the tank build got a lot of buffs and nice quality of life changes. One of the ones that I'm enjoying the most, and I think a lot of tank players will share this, is we can now triple jump with the Mo Blade. This just means things are a lot easier. What we had to do in the past is you would pull everything in like this, and then if you wanted to go ahead and Guardian Palm, you'd have to weapon swap over to the spear, but now you can just do it seamlessly. It's a small thing, but it does help a lot, not needing to constantly weapon swap if you want to move around and jump into the very nice change there. Another great buff the build received is the ability to activate Drumbeat. In the past, we would have to fully charge up a Spear Heavy to get Drumbeat, and then you would consume it with the shield to give you extra charge damage. Now you can just press Q with your Spear, which is something you want to do anyway. That will get you Drumbeat, and then you can activate it that way. So basically, we just don't have to do fully charged spear attacks anymore. You will still do them in PvP, but in PvE, it's almost never correct to do this, apart from some very niche situations. Thundershock, which is your special ability on the Stormbreaker Spear, was also buffed. This duration lasts quite a bit longer now. It's 16 seconds. It applies vulnerability, which basically means the enemy takes more damage from you and your teammates, but it also makes them take more damage specifically from a Thundercry Blade, which basically increases your damage by 8%, as that's where pretty much all of the tank's damage comes from. So as long as you can remember to apply Thundershock once every 16 seconds, your Thundercry Blade is going to do 8% more damage than it normally would. One of the biggest improvements to the tank's DPS output with the 1.2 patch comes with the Mountain Shaker passive. So you can see here it says hitting an exhausted unit grants you Mountain Shaker for 8 seconds. Pressing heavy light attack will allow you to continue your combo up to 2 times. If that doesn't make sense, I'll explain it here in the game. So effectively, we need to charge up a full light attack like this. 1, 2, 3. So the third part of the combo, or with a heavy attack, we go 1, 2, 3. You can also get the same effect if you have Exquisite Scenery, if you have this equipped and then an enemy hits your block. So if I go ahead and just attack myself here, we get Exquisite Scenery, which again allows you to do the 1, 2, 3. So the third part of that combo, if it hits an exhausted enemy, an enemy that can be executed, you then get 2 free fully charged light or heavy attacks. I'll demonstrate it here. I think this should be enough chi. Let's just burn myself here, and then we go 1, 2, 3. And now we have Mountain Shaker, which allows me to go 1, 2. Pretty insane. Like, it is a lot of damage. Now, you can only trigger that, I think, once every 30 seconds. And the time window for you to use those fully charged heavies is only 10 seconds. So my advice is, you got to try and land that third bit on an enemy that is depleted, then go for the execute, and then you can use your attacks after that. I'll show you a little clip of me using it on a boss here, and that will hopefully better demonstrate how to use it. It's a bit tricky to pull it off in PvP, but in PvE, it is really, really, really good. Just basically, yeah, hit a boss with the final part of your fully charged attack combo or from Exquisite Scenery, and then you'll get 2 more free fully charged attacks after that, which is, again, just insane damage. And finally, one of the last buffs we got to the tank build with the 1.2 update is with the Stormroar ability in PvP. It can now break the enemy's defense. So if the enemy is blocking, you can hit them with the Stormroar, and it goes through the block, which then allows you to set up for other combos. You can do the big suck off of that, or you can go ahead like Q, hit that block, and then knock them down, or charge up a spear attack or whatever. It just gives us more tools to set up combos in PvP, specifically if the enemy is blocking or parrying. When it comes to your gear or equipment with the tank build, my recommendation is to always run the Rain Whisper set on your weapons and jewelry. The reason behind this is because we get 15% extra crit damage when we have a HP shield, and that's very easy to achieve because we just use our martial ability with the Thundercry Blade, and there you go, we've got a shield. It's very rare that's going to go away unless you're getting hit super, super hard, or you're just figuring to press the button, which is something you'll definitely want to do. So yeah, Rain Whisper, free damage there. Crit damage is really big for the Moblade along with crit rate. When it comes to your armor, I have moved away from the set that normally comes with Rain Whisper. That was the Moonflare set. It would give you a shield, but again, my thought process is that the shield from the Thundercry Blade is already good enough. This second part here only triggers once every 60 seconds, and it's only 2% HP, so it's just not very good. You know, when you 30% chance when you block to make a shield, and then if you have a shield, it gives you 2% HP, but a minute cooldown. So my advice is to either take a look at the Flawless Defense set. I think this is good in both PvE and PvP. You take 5% less damage, and if you fall below 60%, it gets stronger and stronger, up to a total of 10% damage reduction. Alternatively, the other set that you would want to take a look at is called the Calm Waters. This one here says that when you dodge an attack, you get some endurance, which is your stamina basically, and you get some HP back as well. You get even more when you're under 50% HP. This can be pretty effective, specifically in PvP where you'll be dodging more often. However, in PvE, usually you're just going to be charging up heavies and occasionally blocking to get your Exquisite Scenery proc, and your healer will hopefully have your health covered anyway. So yeah, unless you're doing some specific like niche PvE build where you're solo and you're trying to dodge attacks, I think Calm Waters specifically for PvP is solid. But for an all-rounder, I've currently been going with the Flawless Defense set, but I am planning to get a Calm Water set just for PvP as well. When it comes to your gear and tuning the items and adding affixes, again, just like with the armor, we do have a PvE versus PvP decision. So if I take this helmet here, tune it, you have this final upgrade option. Do you want to add a universal tuning affix, or do you want to add one for arena, which is basically PvP? Now, this is a little bit misleading because when you go and take a look at the affix preview, if we take a look at the arena attunement effect, it does actually kick in 1v1, 2v2, 5v5, also guild battles and guild showdown. So it's not specifically just for 1v1 arena. These are going to kick in into other PvP game modes as well. Obviously, these are going to be active all of the time, but My advice is, or my thought process is, PvE in this game, especially group PvE, so we're talking about doing stuff like the Heroes Realm or the Sword Trials, I just don't find that these are particularly that challenging. If you were trying to push a leaderboard like speedrun or something like that, then by all means you need to get every advantage, but for me, I'm just trying to get in and get the clear. I don't feel like I need that 3% extra Thundercry Blade damage that I get when I do the final upgrade for PvE. Again, this here is an example of the Universal or the PvE upgrades. 3% more Thundercry Blade damage, that would definitely be the best option. But this one over here, which only kicks in our PvP game modes, it says, when Storm Roar, our martial ability or martial arts ability on the Stormbreaker Spear hits an enemy, if they're below 30% chi, it knocks them into the air. That is a game changer. That is unbelievably powerful when it comes to PvP, whereas this is just like, not bad. So the TLDR, what I'm trying to say here, the advice that I'm trying to give is if you have any interest in any of the PvP game modes that were listed, my advice is do the PvP upgrade. And again, if you haven't seen how to do that, because they did change it, go to tuning, and then this final one, you can switch it over to arena. Apparently in the future, you will be able to like select both of these and then switch them on the fly depending on what content you're going into, which is quite nice. But again, my advice for now, don't go for Universal, go for Arena, because the Arena upgrades are really, really, really strong, whereas the PvE upgrades, yeah, they're not that big. But let's talk about the best ones for each slot for both PvE and PvP if you guys are interested. Starting with the weapons, the best final upgrade that I'm looking for on either the Stormbreaker Spear or the Mo Blade would just be Stone Split Penetration in PvE. And then in PvP, having one of them, this doesn't stack by the way, so you just need one weapon. It doesn't matter which one it's on because it does apply to both weapons, but this one up in the top right, it says using an execution skill restores 30 vitality and HP equal to 20% of the damage dealt. This is unbelievably good in PvP. This is by far the best upgrade. But the purple version of it, which I think is just down here, 30 Vitality, this is also pretty good as well. Vitality is the resource you use to cast your Mystic skills, and they will contribute. They're a big part of the tank's damage rotation. Having Vitality to cast Mystic skills will help you out a lot. For our secondary weapon, I don't think anything else is as mandatory as this one, but I would say that dealing 15 bonus chi damage and recovering 10 chi when you break a target's block, that can be pretty good. Also getting the bonus chi damage and recovering 5 chi when you do a counterattack skill, that's also pretty strong as well, but this is by far the one to prioritize when it comes to your weapons for PvP. Moving over to our charm or disc slot, the final upgrade for this one in PvE would just be, again, the Thundercry Blade. This is where all your damage basically comes from, so doing charge damage with the Thundercry Blade for PvE, that's insane. But for PvP, definitely this one over here. This is really, really, really good. I cannot state how insane that is. But the non-legendary version of it, which is what I have right now, this is still not too bad. It basically just allows you to combo. If you hit them with the martial arts ability while they're low on chi, you can knock them in the air and then start doing other crazy stuff. For our Pendant, the best final upgrade, in my opinion, for PvE, no surprises, it's just going to be Thundercry Blade damage boost. And then for PvP, I like this one over here. When the final strike of Endless Battle hits them while they're below 30% chi, it immobilizes them for 0.8 seconds. So basically, this is the fully charged attack on the spear. So if you hit them with the final bit of this while they're low on chi, then you can stun them temporarily. Again, just sets up for some combos. For the armor in PvE, I believe these all share the same upgrade, and it's, again, it's not going to be any surprise. We just want that Thundercry Blade charge skill damage boost. This is, again, it's just where the damage comes from PvE. So for your helmet, your chest, your legs, and your gloves, you just want to get the Thundercry damage boost. When it comes to PvP for the helmet, I would prioritize either getting the HP and chi damage increase after you use your Serene Breeze, or the 2.8 seconds of tenacity. Because we have tenacity like a lot with the build, I think this is going to be the more important one. Just allows you to hit really hard after you do Serene Breeze. But this one I think is not too bad either. For our chest piece upgrade in PvP, either Mystic damage reduction or Stagger damage reduction I think is the best one. I currently have Stagger damage right now. Basically, if you're in a combo, you combine this with Flawless Defense, you're just very, very hard to take down. It's unlikely that you're going to die in one combo if you're taking 28% less damage plus 10% less damage plus your shield. But the Mystic skill, again, there's a lot of Fire Breath, there's a lot of Frogs, there's a lot of Yaksha Rush, there's a lot of Free Morph, so that can also help quite significantly as well, but this would be my priority. For the Boots final upgrade, this seems like a no-brainer. After you dodge an enemy attack, recover 8% max HP. It's a 10-second cooldown, but yeah, just getting some health back, especially when you have, you know, we're getting close to 100,000 HP right now with that tank build, so that's like nearly a 10k heal right there. Pretty crazy. For me, that's the no-brainer upgrade when it comes to the boots. And then finally, moving over to the gloves. My personal belief is anything that gives us vitality is pretty insane. So this one here, recover 8 vitality and increase your mystic skill damage, which is again where a lot of the tank damage comes from in PvP. I think this is by far the best upgrade down here on the bottom right. For inner ways, my default setup is Art of Resistance, Morale Chant, and Exquisite Scenery. Regardless of whether we're doing PvE or PvP, I always run these 3. Exquisite Scenery recently got a buff in that it now gives you crit damage and crit rate, as opposed to, I think it was max HP and physical defense or something. So pretty nice, as those are very important stats for the tank build. Also gives us that free fully charged attack when we block once every 5 seconds if you're at tier 4 or above, which is crazy good. At tier 6, this is also going to increase our damage by 50%, which is just absolutely bonkers. So definitely pushing that to tier 6. Morale Chant probably comes as no surprise. This is just included in every build. However, I am currently not getting any more notes. My plan is to not go to tier 6 for now. There's been some calculations based on the Chinese server that this only represents a 2% damage increase for most builds. I think the damage is probably going to be significantly more for the Thundercry Blade. It basically gives you 1 additional attack, which normally for like dual blades or a strategic sword wouldn't be that much, right? But 1 additional attack with the Thundercry Blade, that's quite a bit. So the jury's out, or we need to do the maths on whether this is worthwhile, but for now, I'm not stockpiling any more notes. But if you guys have more information, by all means, let's help each other out. Let me know in the comments down below. And then finally, Art of Resistance is something I like to rock. Again, this got some buffs here. It gives you Stone Split attack. It gives you Stone Split penetration over here. They changed these stats over, just more useful with your damage output. And it also extends the duration of the shield to last longer, which basically means we're going to be tankier. And it also facilitates those Rain Whisper weapons, giving us more consistency, so we always get that 15% crit damage. It just feels like this is huge. It works everywhere. It's applicable to all styles of tanking for both PvE and PvP. For this final slot, I make a change depending on whether I'm fighting other players or if I'm fighting bosses. If I'm fighting other players, I am now running Vital Leech. This is a pretty big deal. It gives you a lot of extra health, so executions with our tank weapons do hit really hard. And then getting chi back and also getting a health off of them, this can be pretty huge. When we get it to tier 6, this is going to give us 30% lifesteal basically whenever they're out of chi. That's a huge deal as well. This has become pretty popular with a lot of tank builds out there. In particular, getting it to tier 6 is when it really shines. In the past, I was playing with Fury Harvest. However, I think Fury Harvest really only becomes like good when you get it to tier 6. I just didn't feel like it was giving me too much extra vitality at these lower levels, so I have switched it over. I did the conversion and switched Fury Harvest over to Vital Leech. That's been a recent change for me. You may be thinking, because we were talking about it earlier with the dodge, that Evasive Charge might be worth playing as well, and I think it is. If you want another way to get sustain outside of Vital Leech, you could instead play Evasive Charge. I just don't feel like my dodging is as good as I'd like it to be, so I'm prioritizing Vital Leech over Evasive Charge, but you could play this one instead, as it basically gives you the Calm Water armor set, just free as a passive. It's always active on a dodge, you get some health back. For PvE, it's pretty simple, it's pretty straightforward. We just rock Adaptive Steel. We don't need to upgrade this, as the upgrades for Adaptive Steel don't really do much for the build, giving us Bell Strike damage bonus, or giving you more damage when you do a weapon swap. The main reason why we run this, just even at tier 0, is it increases the critical damage of all charged skills with the Mo Blade by 20%. So yeah, just makes our Mo Blade charged attacks do 20% more damage, or 20% more crit damage. That is a big deal. That's a huge damage increase right there. So yeah, PvE pretty straightforward. We just leave Adaptive Steel at tier 0 and that's it. If you wanted to go for the maximum amount of damage, I think swapping out Art of Resistance for the Battle Anthem, particularly once we get it to tier 4, that's a pretty decent damage increase there. But that's my PvE build, and then PvP, we just go ahead and do that. We'll be upgrading everything to tier 6 other than Morale Chant for now, as I'm just not entirely sure how much of a damage increase this is going to give us compared to everything else, so we're going to prioritize those other inner ways. For Mystic Skills with the tank build, this is what I'm currently rocking in PvE. Cloud Steps for movement, Guardian Palm for AoE, Dragon's Breath just good everywhere, same with Drunken Poet to set up the Dragon's Breath. Golden Body is one that I've recently introduced, and by recently I mean a few weeks ago, but if you can upgrade this to tier 3, it gives an AoE shield. You do have to have a full vitality bar, so it's very expensive, but it can be a really good like boss wipe mechanic save, basically give everybody in your team, especially in a Hero's Realm, a big shield. I'm running Frog, but I don't really use that to be honest very often in PvE. And then also Soaring Spin. This is just huge damage with a low cooldown. So the most important things to prioritize for PvE would be Golden Body, Drunken Poet, Soaring Spin, Dragon's Breath, and then probably like a Cloud Steps and a Guardian Palm just for some combos between those as well. In PvP, my skills are fairly similar. The only thing that's really changed here is we've introduced Free Morph and Yaksha Rush. So I dropped the Golden Body. Yaksha Rush is a block break or a target break, so if your opponent's like parry spamming or block spamming, then you can hit them with the Yaksha. Eagle Strike is also pretty good as well. If you guys prefer to play with the Talon Strike, then that does work, but I like Yaksha because it knocks them airborne, and then you can do some shenanigans with the spear after that. And then Free Morph, another way to get the enemy airborne, so you can do some extra damage as well. Cloud Steps has been a fairly recent introduction in PvP. For a while, it was considered pretty troll, but you can now stop Cloud Steps mid-air, so if you press jump again when you're in the air, it won't like guarantee hit the enemy, and that's good because a lot of the time you Cloud Steps into the enemy, they just block or parry, and it doesn't really achieve anything. Also, if it hits the target with Tenacity, it knocks them down, which is pretty good in the tank versus tank matchup or anybody else who has a lot of tenacity. And then everything else is good for the same reasons we previously talked about. Drunken Poet to set up for Dragon's Breath also gives you tenacity, so if you want to just like combo, if you're getting hit with dual blades or you're about to get hit with dual blades, you have a way out of it, you can Drunken Poet. Soaring Spin again is just good damage. Serene Breeze gets you out of CC, it's vital must have for PvP. And then Frog is pretty good to weave in after you do the pull in with the Thundercry Blade. So after you do this bad boy here, you can often then hit him with a Frog, and you just parry cancel before you do the animation, or you can also like pull them in and then do the old Flame Breath, although you do need to preload the Flame Breath with the Drunken Poet, so you have to take a drink beforehand, and then the Flame Breath will come out faster as a result. Finally, I just wanted to share a few gameplay tips, rotation, advice for PvE and PvP with this set. So when it comes to PvE on a boss, usually we're just going to open up with the old Storm Roar, get the damage reduction, then we're going to hit with Thundershock, weapon swap, apply the shield, probably get a free block at this point for the exquisite scenery, do the slam. Now, one thing that I've learned over time is it's actually better to parry cancel the final part of the attack chain, so don't do the full overhead attack. Instead, parry cancel the final bit. It does actually end up being more damage. If you go for one of these bad boys, where we go 1, 2, 3, that's actually a DPS loss. Again, this is like the really like min-max specific stuff, you know. Is it going to be the end of the world if you do that full swing over thing? No, but if you are wanting to maximize damage, then it does turn out, having tried doing some DPS tests, you should try and parry cancel as soon as you can after the second swing. 1, 2, and then go straight into another one. 1, 2, block, and so on and so forth. And on top of that, you need to, you know, manage your Storm Roll, make sure you're applying that on cooldown. Thundershock, make sure you're applying that once every 16 seconds for the debuff. Keep your shield up. You can now also refresh your shield. I don't think we actually mentioned this in the beginning, like the quality of life buffs, but now when you get the drumbeat buffs, if we do this, and then we pop the shield, which gives us the breakthrough, which is like 30% more damage on our charge skills, along with the shield as well. You can keep refreshing the breakthrough, so technically you don't need to go back and do it. You should still do it. You should still apply Storm Roar on cooldown, because it's a pretty good damage debuff, but just to be aware that you can sort of keep that going. Anyway, the TLDR of what we were trying to get to here is with the charged attacks, the best DPS is actually to cancel, not do the full chain of it. You still want to charge up all the way to hear that second noise, but doing that third part of the flip is a DPS loss. So yeah, if you want to really min-max with the damage, only do the first two parts of the attack. 1, 2, parry cancel. This is more for PvE and PvP, you know, trying to pull off all of that specific stuff is going to be a lot harder. And finally, I just wanted to give you guys a few quick tips when it comes to PvP with the tank build. One area, specifically in 1v1 arena, this build has often struggled with is the lack of combos. Many other weapon combinations, you take a look at the strategic sword, nameless sword, dual blades, rope dart, you name it. Most of the builds that are popular in PvP, they have what are known as combos. This is a continuous attack chain that you can pull off where your opponent basically doesn't get a chance to respond. They're just staggered or stunned or knocked up in the air, and they can't do anything unless they have Serene Breeze. They're going to be stuck in this combo. The Stormbreaker Spear and the Thundercry Blade historically has struggled with any of these combos, but having played more of the build, and we've seen a lot of other people play the build, Stormbreaker Spear can achieve some shenanigans, and you can also weave in the Thundercry Blade there as well. So if we go ahead and get some Battle Will with the shield, which is pretty much how you should always start a 1v1 arena as well, and usually you also take a Drunken Poet so you can do a Flame Breath quicker. But if we go and hit the Storm Roar into Light Attack into Thunder Shock, that is going to be the start of our combo. So Storm Roar, Light Attack, Thunder Shock. Then when they're on the ground, we're going to hit them with a Free Morph and cancel it with a parry into a Charged Spear. That right there, even though it doesn't show up here, is typically going to be a combo you can pull off on an opponent. And it's just weaving that stuff in where you need those mystic skills. That's why earlier in the video we talked about Vitality being important. One of the aspects that is underrated with the Stormbreaker Spear is you can actually just do like light attacks. These are actually pretty good at stopping your opponent from doing anything as well. My advice is when it comes to the tank build, even though the Stormbreaker Spear is considered a pretty bad weapon, it is going to be one of our best sources of denying your opponents from doing anything. The TLDR of what we missed there is Thunder Shock is a good way to set up CC, and then you can immediately do something like a Free Morph and parry cancel it. So Free Morph and then parry cancel after you've done that kick. And the way that you would set that up is you knock them over, then Free Morph, then parry cancel, and then when they're on the ground, you do a full charge spear attack. And that's just like the basics to get things going. We could be sitting here for another 10-20 minutes talking about these different combinations that we can do, where we can pull opponents in, and then when they're on the ground, what we can do after that to get some follow-up damage. But I think this video has gone long enough as it is, so I just wanted to briefly mention the Stormbreaker Spear and its viability in PvP, because I think myself, I've often long overlooked it, and I think other players have as well, and it turns out it's actually pretty good for just getting stuff in, you know, getting the job done. It does have quite a lot of viability in PvP, rather than just relying entirely on the Thundercry Blade to get the job done. Again, if you guys would like a dedicated video talking about tank in PvP and different weapon, not even weapon combinations, like ability combinations and combos in general, let me know. We can try and put together something for that. But I just thought it would be briefly worth touching on it. Final thing to mention when it comes to tank is the introduction of Cloud Steps. Now that this knocks players down when they have Tenacity, you do need to be aware. If somebody sees you doing this, which is Tenacity, or this, which is Tenacity, or this, which is Tenacity, pretty much all of your skills have Tenacity with the tank, which is one of its best strengths, but it's also a particular weakness. So watch out for Cloud Steps, particularly at lower ranks, and then maybe even at higher ranks. If you see somebody jump up in the air, you need to stop doing this and instead just block or go for a parry instead, because that is going to catch you out quite a lot now that it can knock people down. And friends, I think that's going to do it for this video. I do want to talk about some extra stuff in terms of the new weapons coming up and how they might integrate in the tank build, and also some of our guild versus guild passives and playstyles there, but I think that would be best separated, you know, for a different video. Let me know if there's any particular aspect of whether it's new weapons or some other aspect of tank builds or other builds that you guys would like to see a video on. Let me know in the comments down below. As always, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you go ahead and leave a like, subscribe for more, and I'll see you guys all in the next video.